This is NSE Finviz powered by CNBC TV 18. All the financial advice continues right here. Firoz, I want to talk to you about, again, when we read the papers, and again, even if you're not actively following the markets or any of the other, but the papers nowadays are talking a lot about inflation rate and the rupee slide and all of that. How important is that for a layman person who's not involved with the financial markets on a day-to-day basis, but is worried about his portfolio, his kitty to not be at least devalued? It should be growing up rather than going down. How important are these macro factors for them?
See, when you look at the macro factors, they are important just from an academic perspective. Why? Because every bad news is a good news to somebody. And especially when you're doing a systematic investment plan, due to, let's assume, inflation being high, bond prices go down because 10-year GSEC went up. All this you will read in the newspapers, but they are irrelevant because if you've actually invested in an SIP mode, your next investment will be bought at a better price. Because you're investing on a monthly basis, if there's a bad news, you know that the next installment is going to be buying you more units. On the contrary, if you hear a good news on the newspapers, you know that the installments which are already there, which have been bought, will do well. So because you are doing a systematic investment plan, you've nullified the impact of actually the market timing, right? So you don't have to be too worried.
Harsh, you're talking about the importance of having a financial planner, but how does one go about getting a good financial planner, not so that you don't make these mistakes of investing incorrectly or misinvesting?
Approach a financial planner, conduct a meeting with him without any commitment. The idea is all financial planners have their own individual flavors. So while he may be a genius, you may not set, your mindsets and your wavelengths may not match. So you need to conduct meetings with a couple of people to identify the person who meets with your wavelength. Once you do that, you need to be honest in disclosing all your data. The suggestions, the advice that you will get will depend exactly on the data that you have given.
Firoz, I want to talk to you about insurance. Now, insurance is a subject that everybody, like, especially at the year end, when we say that, okay, we have to invest so that we get a tax break and all of that. But that's not the right way to deal with insurance. And of course, nobody wants to think about the fact that they will die one day. How do you, I mean, you deal with people on a daily basis. How do you kind of sidestep this myth or this mental block?
Yes. Actually, you're right in pointing out that people generally think about insurance which has some tax breaks, and that generally happens between February and March, and this has historically been happening. But I think it's very important to view insurance as a risk management tool. Everybody has risks. Risk is one thing which is manageable but unavoidable. You have to remember this statement, which is very critical. You cannot avoid risk. There is no way you can avoid risk, but you can manage it. So managing risk is very critical. So if you're getting a salary which is going to get credited to you every month, there is usage to that salary, right? So you need to make sure that there is a replacement theory. If you are not there, God forbid, that salary should still continue to keep getting credited to your account, so that your dependents are not dependent on your physical presence. You cannot expect your dependents to go through an actual loss of you not being there, we not being there, and also having a financial trouble. It's a double whammy for the relatives. So it's very important, because it's very difficult to cope with both at once. So how do you assess what is the insurance cover you need? It's very important.
Harsh, I want to ask you about monitoring portfolio, which is really important. Again, okay, so let's assume you have a financial planner, so you're going to him or her and you're talking regularly. But it's important to do some research on our own to monitor it also while doing it with the financial planner. I mean, at home, sitting on a Sunday, I should be going over my portfolio regularly, right? Or how often should that happen?
Well, there are two sides to this. On one end, you are a professional in your own field. There is specific domain knowledge that you have for your own area of functioning. At the same time, there is another person who's a professional in financial matters. So you consult him the way we are not professionals and we do not have knowledge in medical field. So we go and consult a doctor who tells us what to do, and we follow that advice.
Yeah.
So with respects to monitoring your portfolio, yes, put in an attempt, put in an effort to try and understand. So there is a difference between putting an effort to understand and doing something on your own. Put in an effort to understand what is happening, bounce that idea off with your financial planner, assess whether it is suitable to you, and then execute. Do not self-medicate.
This is NSE Finvest powered by CNBC TV 18. After the short break, the audience asks us some important questions of our experts. Stay tuned.